Bring a Trailer podcast.
Welcome back to the Bring a Trailer podcast, everybody. Alex coming to you again from Bring a Trailer HQ, joined again by Zach. How are you, Zach?
Hey, I'm doing great.
And joined kind of for the first time on the BAT podcast by Patrick, another old school OG BAT staffer. How are you, Patrick?
Yeah, doing great.
Is that a comment back to the first podcast we attempted in, what was that, 2016, 2017?
I started in 2016, so it probably would have been 2017.
Heck yeah, Zach.
I think I still have your Yeti mic at my desk.
Yeah, I think you do.
Did I ever give that back?
Zach, give us the DL on this. This was what I was hoping to start with. This was the OG never aired BAT pod. You were the host.
I'm actually ashamed at how fuzzy my memory is, but maybe that's because I blocked it out because I did such a bad job hosting.
We ended up talking about something so esoteric and non-interesting that Zach in the middle of the podcast was like, this is not going to be interesting to everybody.
I think we started out, and this is also 17 BAT, where modern cars were not on the website. We just maybe started listing some, but it would be kind of a big deal to list a modern car. And then the two of you went a solid 20 minutes on Camry Solaras.
Which I still like.
That sounds right. Yep.
How are you feeling about Solaras today, Patrick?
Yeah, I like them same as now as I did before.
Should we do another 20 minutes, Zach?
I think the audience is more ready for it.
Have we ever listed a Solara? So we'd probably done what, Patrick? A couple thousand auctions at that point. We've done 160,000 more since then. Have we ever listed a Toyota?
We had our first Camry Solara last December. No reserve, 23,000 miles, first gen.
Vert or coupe? They're Verts and coupes, right?
Come on, Vert, obviously.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'm kind of a coupe guy.
The first gen is the one that you want. The second gen, they totally screwed up the design, and it's not as handsome. And
this was a bit for me, and now we're actually going to spend 20 minutes talking about Solaras. Yes, please elucidate, Patrick.
No, the first gen Solara is just kind of handsome and simple and plain and nice looking. And then the second one they put in, it was the era of Toyota where I think they were putting in a lot of the swoopy lines across the body, and it just killed it. Yeah.
Thumbs down. So that never aired, Zach, because you were like, this is unlistenable. I think we may have recorded twice. I can't remember. It was definitely in our old office.
Yep.
Good memory.
Okay. Anyway, we made an attempt, and then we were so shamed we waited 5 more years before we did it.
And then, much like the Solara, we killed that and moved on.
That's right. That's right. Better now, hopefully. So today we're going to play one of our one-year garage games. Again, we're going to do 1984, which is going to be interesting, and I want to talk about that. But before we do, Zach, you were down at Luft.
It aligned nicely with a wedding I had in town. So I was at Luft for I set a timer. I parked, I set my timer, I gave myself 1 hour, but by the time I was off the shuttle, I only had 45 minutes. So I had to breeze through Luft, but I didn't get to go when they did Universal last time.
Right, this is Return to Universal Studios backlot.
Which, limited perspective, I haven't gone to every car event in the entire world. I'm sure there's some phenomenal international ones, but I'll say that's got to be among the top 3 coolest car event venues ever, right?
Yes, I went to the first one with our colleague Robert and had my green Porsche there, and it was amazing.
It's so photogenic, and there's so much to explore, and so many cool angles and alleys, and the scenery's constantly changing, and there's cool movie references, and they turned the west.
Clock tower, Patrick, the clock tower from Back to the Future. Is
right.
Yeah. Clock tower is great. Maybe a Back to the Future reference later on this podcast, though I know it didn't come out in 84. And yeah, just blowing up a potential pick. And
I didn't even think about that one. Patrick was DeLorean on your list.
85 is actually the right year. But did you guys see the bar when you were there? Were they serving drinks?
They had when I was there, which I don't know how many years ago it was, quite a few years ago, definitely pre-pandemic, that was all the concessions were in Hilldale. They were all around the clock tower. Was that the case again this year? That's where they had all the vendors.
Had some. It was set up all over. There was some all the way in Europe. And then my favorite was it was kind of Wild West, but I'm pretty sure far enough into Mexico, they turned one of those buildings into a bar.
Oh, cool. Like a saloon?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, there's so many Porsches. Your eyes glaze over for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to any of those,
No.
Patrick? Never, no Luft.
No, I'd really like to go at some point, but I don't know. The thought of seeing a show with all Porsches and no other variety is a little less interesting to me. But yeah, I'd like to go at some point for sure.
One mark is tough, but they do such a good job of making the venue so engaging and interesting.
Yeah. Yes.
It works well.
I agree.
But so the other fun anecdote I had, I drove down. I just happened to be in LA for a wedding that weekend. I didn't go
Which
down
car
for
did you
Luft. I took again, it's hard to say this without sounding like a jerk. I took the Ferrari.
Great. I was hoping you were going to say that.
It's a great setup for this story of I've truly reached the height of first world problems with that car. I was having a lovely dinner at this great spot in Studio City with a couple of our colleagues and another good friend who's also a avid BAT podcast listener.
Shout him out.
Mike the dentist.
Mike gave me good feedback too. Love Mike.
Yeah. Great.
You know Mike the dentist, don't you, Patrick?
No.
You don't know Mike? Mike's great.
Fast guy. Yeah, sold some cars on the site. Used to roll the green TII. Now has a green GTV, building a motor for it. Anyway, I come out after our lovely dinner. We're all hanging out. I walk up to my Ferrari. And I walk over to the passenger side, and somebody pried off one of my Scuderia shields.
Oh, good. Oh, they're fixing a problem for you.
Well, they would
I hate those things.
But unfortunately, when you option that, the fenders are inlaid with the shield.
Oh, no.
It's not like it's over a factory fender. They actually have a unique fender design for the front. So there's this huge divot.
Like a shield shape.
Yeah, little pry mark where somebody just went and popped it off.
Oh,
and I mean, the great irony is someone that's probably like this, rich a-hole in this Ferrari. But that car is making me so poor with all of these little things that keep popping up like that.
Oh, man. Well, less damage than I did to it. So anyway.
Cars live many lives. I'll show you guys that.
I never knew. I always thought that they were just tacked. Oh, my gosh. It's more of a serious divot than I would have thought.
Yeah, it's a unique fender. So if you don't option the shields, they have it in. Because the fenders up there, it's one big piece from the headlights all the way back.
But people
up to the
also
windshield.
must stick them on just over the top, right?
Yeah, that's which is... To your earlier point, which I totally agree with, no shields is actually the coolest thing.
Yeah, totally.
On a Ferrari because they all have them. And now I've got shield delete on one side.
Great. Today I learned divot also valuable on the black market.
I'm thinking about getting hair plugs just on the left too. So then when people pull up on the right, my hairline will match
that's
the lack of shield.
Oh man, you had another eventful road trip, Zach.
It's always something with that car.
Yeah, great.
So
pretty soon it's going to be like the Californication 964, where it's just like beater.
I think it's kind of there already. I mean, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot too much because inevitably I'm going to have to sell it to fund the mass amount of debt I've taken on buying.
Totally.
But
totally. We'll delete this part of the podcast. Awesome. Any other
embedded in my listing, I'm sure.
Totally. Any other takeaways from the weekend? Anything else awesome happened while you're down there? Who'd you have dinner with? Robbie and Mike?
Yeah, Robbie Pyle, Mike Barron. And
great.
Yeah, other Mike.
Good stuff.
Some car hangs, some hanging around 964 RSs.
Yeah.
Robbie's was there at the show, I assume?
Robbie, I should actually bring this up. Thanks for reminding me that weekend's such a blur. Robbie coordinated a rainbow spread of colors of 964 RSs.
I saw pictures of that, yeah.
See, that's why you would like Luft, Patrick, because it's like a photographer's like dream. Like they set it up that way. I presume that's the intentionality.
Do for sure.
But it's also a photographer's nightmare because you're just like,
because the
get out of my shot.
Yeah,
it's just everybody wandering everywhere. And there's all these guys with crazy rigs at 2 p.m.
What was your best camera spot?
I actually started to feel I'm becoming a stereotype, Alex. And
were you camera
aware
shamed?
Of that? I'm aware of that.
What do they call it, Patrick, when you get out camera?
Nothing made me feel worse. I mean, it's a sea of men with Rolexes and Leicas.
Of course.
And I was a little ashamed of myself.
Lots of beards.
I was excited to not climb into a Porsche after all of everyone with a Rolex and a Leica getting in there.
There was a dude at the one I went to earlier this year, which had water-cooled cars too, who had a freaking Hasselblad. So he was like looking down, taking pictures.
That's awesome. I have mad respect for people dusting off the nostalgia gear like that.
He had a very large beard, as I recall, to go along with that.
I mean, you'll walk by a guy with like a gimbal. It's pretty crazy over there. But the RS spread was awesome. It actually turned me on to yellow is a surprisingly excellent color on those.
Agreed.
Though mint objectively is the best.
That's my favorite. The one you and I went to years ago, Zach, when we took the Emery BAT Speedster and
Lumberyard
993, yes, had that Aqua 964 RS, which I think I've talked to Robbie about, and he's like, that's a one of one. It was like a metallic teal. Do you remember that?
Man,
inside.
Does it look like the Ford Mustang 90s
yes,
steel?
Or like the ZR1 Corvette color. Yes, totally. C4 ZR1 Corvette color.
No, I don't remember.
Which is something I've drafted before on one of these games.
At the pace Robbie's training through these cars, I'm sure he'll own
He's going to end up with that exact car. Yeah, totally. Should we dive in, guys, or anything else?
Sure,
let's do it.
Okay. So, refresher for people listening, if you haven't heard one of these before, we are going to go around the horn, take turns, each picking 5 cars. They have to be from 1984 in 5 categories. So, there'll be 15 picks total, 5 from each of us. The categories are daily driver, sports car, truck 4x4, family hauler, and wild card. Once somebody takes one, you can't double up. So the order matters a little bit. I think we should let Patrick go first since he's guest for second player. What do you think?
Nice of you, Alex.
You can go second. I'll go last. I always lose these things. We put them up on. Do you know we put them up on Instagram and people tell us how terrible we are?
Yes.
Okay, which is fun.
Yeah.
So we'll do that again. But before we do, I thought we'd talk about the year a little bit. I settled on this one because it's 40th anniversary. It's George Orwell, 1984. I'm always constantly looking for a year that would be tough too, and they always end up being easier than you think. But I actually found this one kind of tough.
Yep, absolutely. I think as we were talking about before you were recording, there are a lot of cars that are interesting that existed in 1984, but like the better versions of those cars came out later. And so you end up sometimes picking these cars where you'd actually really prefer the one from 85 or 86 or
cool
87
car, but it has a
whatever.
bad motor or bad headlights or something.
Yeah.
What did you think, Zach?
That was my exact same experience. We're like, why can't we do 86? There's so much heat.
Yep.
But Purple Rain came out in 84, so
Totally.
you can't hate the year too much.
Totally. Neither of you were alive, right? I was 1 year old. I was born in 83. Do you like this era of cars?
I like the late 80s era of cars, I think. After going through this list and kind of struggling through it, I don't know that I do like this era of cars.
In the US, we're just coming out of the malaise, Zach. Like it's just just coming out of it.
Yeah, it's right around there. It's a turning point.
Yeah.
It's about to be what is to come.
Uh-huh.
And 84 also, I mean, phenomenal film year. Beverly Hills Cop, great car movie. Ghostbusters. We don't need to talk about the Temple of Doom. Terminator. I mean, there's some good media, I feel like, fueling what's about to become the car enthusiasm world and into the mid to late 80s.
Would the Ghostbusters rig, even though it's a 50s Cadillac ambulance, right? Does that count as a 1984 car? Could that be your wild card?
I guess I would allow it.
Maybe. Yeah. Interesting to think about. 85. Could the DeLorean be your car?
16 candles.
Ooh, good one. There's a good car in that. That's one of the strong picks. All right. Well, let's dive into it. Patrick, why don't you go first? You can pick the first category as well, and you get first overall pick.
Okay. So, this was a little bit of a struggle in almost all of these categories. And I suspect once you guys hear my picks, I'm probably not going to be invited on the podcast again.
Because they're going to be too basic?
You'll be invited. It'll just be another 7 years.
Yeah, it'll be another 7 years. Yeah.
Will this one be aired? I don't know.
Good question.
2031. Patrick's back.
Anyway, we'll see. Yeah. So here we go. How about we do commuter and daily? Or
daily
first. I went back and forth on this one quite a bit, but I think I'm going to land on a Honda CRX.
Oh, good.
Partially because it's nice and small. I live in the city in San Francisco. Parking is a challenge, but driving around the city in a very small 2-seater car with a reasonable trunk seems like just a fun way to get around all the time. I think that's a good pick.
What's the spec? It's a great pick.
So the CRX-SI came out in 85.
Oh.
So it's basically just a regular CRX. I think they call them sports. But silver car with I think they all came with cloth interiors as far as I'm aware.
Two-tone in that era or no?
The CRX epitomizes our frustration, not only not being able to get an SI, but just 4 years later, you're going to be commuting in that car and be humiliated when the CRX with the good headlights is out in 88.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's why this is tough.
Still pretty good, though. That's still good. That would be a fun commuter.
Yeah, I think it would be. And the other potential picks I had here as backups were...
No, you can't do that.
I'm not going to say them, but I'm just going to say that they all are in a similar situation to the CRX.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. Where they got better later.
Yes.
I was so terrified Patrick is just going to blow up all our picks and then when you're rolling around in 84
He claims
T-birds.
he knows how to play this game. It's unclear to me whether he's actually ever listened to the BAT podcast before, despite being our colleague and friend for 8 years. Well, yeah, very true. Zach, daily driver for you.
You sure you don't want to go?
No, you go ahead. I've got I don't know about you, but I'm full on this one. I have so many options. I'll be happy with my 6th pick on
I've got a few backups, but I'm going to go with Alpha GTV6.
Oh,
yeah, that was on my list as well.
Interesting.
And that's another good pick for 84 because it doesn't get better as it goes on.
Right.
That's V6 by then, not the 4-cylinder style. Right. Is that right? Okay.
Not the pure just Alfetta 2-liter 4-cylinder.
Okay.
I like that pick.
I like that pick too. I was looking at
Sounds great, looks great, has the hatch, practical.
Yes.
Get to call in sick to work a little more often. Yeah, totally. It's probably not going to start every day.
Broken a lot. What's the spec for you? What's the color at least?
It's rare for me to say this, but I think I would get red.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I always think it's lame and cliche to get the manufacturer color like that, but these just look so correct in red.
You could have cloverleaf fender shields.
I could have one.
One with a dent on the other side. Those are both really strong picks. It actually...
That is not what I thought you were going to pick, Zach.
What did you think I was
going to pick?
I
can't say that.
I'm shocked that one thing didn't go overall first. I don't want to say it yet. One thing I forgot to mention is what our site results look like for this. I often do that. So we have 11 listings live right now from 1984, and we have listed over 2,000 cars from this year. So it's actually despite kind of the difficulty we had, it's actually we've listed a lot of cars from 1984.
Yeah.
Okay, this actually puts me in a little bit of a challenge because there's so many cars I like.
We'll do honorable mentions at the end.
Yeah, we will for sure. I'm going to go with, oh my gosh, it's actually trickier than I thought. I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going to go SVO Mustang. It's not my favorite of the SVO Mustangs, but it's really good. And you could get the disc wheels. And so that's what I would drive every day, I think. And I think that would feel in 84 pretty advanced, that would have felt kind of advanced, right? Because the V8 from that era, you're coming out of Mustang 2s, the V8's not all that yet, right? It's not quite the late Fox Body Mustang program.
I wish I was around at the time to understand the sentiment, but it also reminds me when we walked out of our restaurant moments before I was about to find out the great tragedy of my Ferrari. This Mustang peels out in front of us, full throttle, flying down the boulevard. And I turned to everyone and I was like, EcoBoost. So was that an SVO in 84?
I don't, because the EcoBoost is the base motor now. And back then, this was a step up from the V, right? This was the technology peak, right? Because you got better steering rack, better wheels, better brakes, everything on it was meant to be kind of performance oriented. Maybe it's on a parallel with a GT, but I don't think it was quite the same thing. If you remember, Zach, a lot of people were excited for the return of the 4-cylinder turbo because they're new SVO, and it's not the new SVO. It's actually the rental car spec. Okay, let's not do honorable mentions here because I think some of the other cars that could be dailies might fit elsewhere.
Nobody is going to have this on their list. So honorable mention to the contemporary 1984 Camaro's interior. It totally kicks the Mustang's butt, right?
Oh, does it? Oh, yeah.
It's full 80s, it's almost like the C4 with all it looks like an 80s toy almost with all the light up dash and all that.
That's the era of kind of digital airplane looking stuff.
All the concept cars that have multi-screens in them.
Totally. I'm going to wait on honorable mentions. There's a couple here that I really wanted to take, but they could potentially fit elsewhere.
Yeah.
So let's move on. What do you want to do next, Patrick?
Okay. Let's do sports car.
Okay.
Oh, yikes.
All right.
Okay. So, yeah, this is a tough one. I'd say there's probably a few very obvious great options, and I did not choose one of those.
Good. A bad option.
I chose a bad option. So I went back and forth between two cars, but I think what I'm going to pick and get chastised over is a Mazda RX-7.
Ooh,
the FB RX-7.
I mean, I respect that you're coming with your personal taste to this game.
Yes, that is what I'm doing. Yeah.
GSL-SE in that year, I think. Right?
Correct. Yep.
Nice.
I believe so. I like relatively medium to low power, lightweight cars, and I think that fits it pretty well as being somewhat unique and weird with the rotary engine, which was that the first? That was not the first car in the U.S. No, that was definitely not the first car in the U.S. with a rotary engine.
No, because you could buy
they
the
had
trucks.
rotaries in the RX-2 and RX-3.
Yeah,
those are 60s. There's probably something at 50s
that's right.
too.
But no Cosmo in the U.S., right?
Cosmos, what's first year? 61?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure if they sold those here or not. A lot of them are right-hand drive. I think that's a great pick. As you know, I raced one of these and loved it. That's Motorcycle Next Door. Those are.
That's the first time I've ever heard you say you loved that car.
I love. Sorry, that's good. Yes. Correction. I remember it fondly. It was actually tough to drive and stuff, but it was I think it would have been more fun as a street car than as a race car.
Yeah,
I love them. I think it's one of the few cars from the 80s you could say is actually pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great looking car. Would I buy one today outside of this game? Probably not, but I do think they're cool. They look great. They've got an interesting engine, and I think they'd just be a lot of fun to drive around.
People swear by me. They're a solid rear end, but the GSL-SE has a limited slip. They wouldn't be terribly slow by 1984 standards because it's not like V8s were making a ton of power, you know? Right. So as long as you've got a good oil budget, you'll be fine.
Yep, indeed.
Good pick. What color?
There's one on so I looked at pretty much all the cars on my list as ones that we've listed on BAT, and there's a silver one that has a cloth interior that's not what seems like the 70s or early 80s brown. It's like a grayish thing, and I think it's pretty sleek looking, and I'd probably go for something like that.
Drive around with the thing popped up.
Yes.
The sunroof popped up. Popped up sunroof.
Your gray FB RX-7 next to your gray CRX non-SI.
Ooh, that's a good point, Zach. Kind of lame, huh?
That's okay.
I think in 84, that's a pretty strong 2-car garage.
Not unintentionally, but I accidentally have the silver car collection too. So,
yep, indeed. Yeah. Okay.
Good pick. Zach, sports car.
It's hard to go after a humble and great deep cut like Patrick just had.
Go big, buddy.
288 GTO.
Oh,
I mean, come on.
Yep.
I think most are 84 is the first year, but it may have been Europe only, and then I mean, there's fewer than 300. But anyway, yes, 288 GTO. Come on, look at that thing.
My favorite. I actually like this more than the F40. This is my favorite of all the I don't know if I guess it is. It's like the first supercar Ferrari, right? Like it's if you want to count it in the Enzo F50, F40 lineage, right? It's kind of the first of those, wouldn't you say?
I don't know. Would you call a 250 short wheelbase?
I think those are more like sports race, right? Like it's more like a sports race. This is the first of the mega cars.
Mid-engine.
Right? Yep.
Heavy hitter, big power. Yeah.
Fastest car in the world at the time. Are you F40 or 288 GTO?
F40.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most people would be. What about you, Zach?
Man, it's such a toss-up. Honestly, just looks, only based on looks, I kind of think 288 GTO.
Yeah, me too.
It's just so cool. I mean, it's like a factory wide body of the design of that era, which just looks so good. And when you see one in person with the flares, it's just so wild. Not that an F40 isn't crazy impressive to see, but I think if the F40 was black, I might have to get the F40.
Yes. F40 is also like 288 GTO is like, it's when you go back, right? Like it's the originator of that program, right? The F40 is the improvement of it.
Right.
Also 288 way rarer, which I like.
Yep.
Weirder. Don't see them as much. There's like 1,300 F40s, right, Zach? And there's only a couple hundred 288s.
And I like stuff that the interior of the 288 GTO still is like a Ferrari from there. You still get Daytona seats.
It's like kind of like a modded 308, isn't it? It's like they hacked up a 308 and made it into this crazy thing.
I'll walk all of this back as soon as I can pick F40 for this game. And I'll be like, no, F40 is the best. It's the one you want. I'd be ashamed to pull up next to this in the 288 GTO. But actually, I just like F50s.
I think that's a freaking fantastic pick. Interesting. Both Italian for you, both Japanese for you, Patrick. Okay, sports car for me. I'm going to go pretty basic this time, but normally I don't have a chance to do this. So I'm just going to go 3.2 Carrera, first year of the 3.2 Carrera, but I wanted a 491 wide body, which was available this year. No, there's another code for this. I can't remember, but no wing. So I would like 491, but no T-tray.
M470?
I think, right. So you'd have to have a 491, 470. So no wing, standard back, but with the flares. And just the 3.2 and kind of standard. There's one that shows up, two Luft called. I wish I could remember the guy's name. I met him. It came to our event. No, it's like a blue. It's like a medium light blue. He's got like the bumperettes deleted on the back, or maybe he has European bumperettes, but it's a no wing 491. That's what I would have.
So why
that could also flares? Be a daily, like when my daily breaks, that could easily be your daily driver, 100%. Right?
Why the flares over a narrow body?
84, for some reason, first year of the Carrera, I always think of the 491 because there's no turbo anymore, right? In the US at least. So like that's kind of the lame also ran, except that I've always liked them. And I love the way wide bodies look with no wing. I like that on the 9.6. There's a 964 that's like that too, that has wide body but no spoiler on it. And I just think it looks fantastic. I love so wide body presence. Yeah, totally.
Like, photos don't capture it, but you see one in person. It stops you. Whoa.
Yep. Totally. Okay, good pick me. Patrick, good pick you, Alex. Back to you, buddy. Where do you want to go next?
Okay, let's do family hauler. I'm going down commuter, sports car, family hauler, truck, and 4x4, and then wild card. So let's do family hauler.
Yes, what silver Toyota van do you have queued up for us?
Correct.
Patrick?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so again, this is a category where some of the cars available here that would make a lot of sense got better later. So this is where I was struggling a little bit. But I think my pick is actually going to be a BMW 533i, white over red, which is the exact car my dad bought when I was in middle school, and we had for about 6 or 7 years. And we rode around in that thing. I drove it down to Santa Barbara multiple times for a couple of events and things like that. And I just absolutely love that car.
5-speed?
Absolutely.
I think that's a great pick. That's an E12?
E28.
So it's an E28. Okay.
Yep. I mean, you can argue
84 first year of E28?
I don't think so. The 535 came in 1985, I believe. And then the M5 came in 85 or 86.
Okay.
So those are like the more obvious ones that you would choose for this, but given the constraints of the year and all that type of stuff, I think, and given the fact that my family had one of these that I really loved, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yours was white red?
White over red.
That's really strong.
Yeah.
Red interior.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Wine colored interior.
Burgundy. I drove, there was a 633 that we used to work on at my shop, 633 automatic that had that burgundy interior.
Yeah. I really liked it. I thought it was pretty classy looking and nice. And our car we had was lowered on some sports suspension with later 5 Series wheels, which I think actually looked pretty good. But yeah, I love that car. And my dad would agree now. I think that it was probably foolishly sold back then to fund something else that I think we bought later that I also encouraged him to buy. So
great.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Good pick. Zach?
I took some liberties on this one. But we've all established that I would have a small family.
Right. Only 2 of us here actually have a family to haul.
So Rolls-Royce Corniche.
Oh.
Come on, kids yelling, screaming. You just drop the top, get on the freeway, and it's all drowned out by the white noise and wind buffeting.
Totally. Man, that's actually a strong pick. Is that still... That still has the ancient pushrod V8
it does, in it? The 6 3/4 liter V8.
That's actually pretty strong, I think.
I think it'd be great. Could you imagine just Felix hopping over the side? Totally. Don't even need a rear door.
Sheepskin or like lambskin like carpets or lamb's wool carpets. It would be great. I'm actually think that's a great pick.
I know. I thought about it and I was like, maybe I should make that my commuter now.
Yeah. Oh, man. Daily. Great one, Zach. White. It's got to be white, right? White tan. That's like the only color combo possible.
I'm good with white. There's some good like browns and metallic brown shades of that era, but
I'm not too familiar with these cars. Are they only 2 doors?
Yes.
The Corniches.
So you just picked a 2-door car as your family hauler?
But it's 2 doors with no roof.
So you just hop in over the back.
Over the side.
I like that.
It's also got
like a cool 80s.
Well, okay. That's interesting that you key in on that because I need a call then on whether I can. There's one I really want, and I need a decision on whether I can have it or not. Two, really. Do you think either a 400i Ferrari or a Mondial counts as a family hauler?
I would totally give you 400. I looked at those. I'm just fundamentally opposed to them.
That's even worse. What I really want is a Mondial coupe.
Mondial, man, you gotta have some.
Yes, you'd have to have small
little
kids. My current family hauler for me is a coupe. So I do daily and have for 6 years daily driven a coupe.
And Patrick's got a GTI. So.
Yep. But I only have one kid.
That's tough.
Are you going to go for a 400? I think that's very respectable.
I mean, there's like a sedan that I would be happy to have. So you guys make the call. 400i.
I mean, 400 just speaks to you as a person, I feel like.
It sure does.
But I'm curious what your other choice was.
Okay, will you permit it, Patrick?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Then I'm going to take it, and I'm actually going to take an automatic. I'm going to have a 400i automatic.
Yeah, 3-speed, as you would.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Silver with red. We had a really nice silver red one.
I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but those are great looking cars.
They're fantastic.
Right?
I think they're a total pile of shit, but they're
I'm sure they are.
Really cool looking.
Yeah.
I can't get behind the looks, except for the fact that I would love being out in the modern day, humble bragging about my Ferrari at the bar, and then wandering out to that thing to get into.
Like, is that a Buick?
I think that would be a pretty great bit for a lot of people.
Usually Ferraris, like the styling looks like other cars. That's like a one-off. There's
nothing else quite like it.
Yeah.
The other honorable mention that I couldn't bring myself to pick because I also find them to be pretty hideous. Lagonda.
Oh, yes.
A family hauler of 84 you could have gone with.
It's a step cousin to the 400i. They're too ugly for me.
Yeah, I know.
And if you like, the 400i is like a Honda reliability compared to the
Lagonda. It's like a sports Lincoln Town car.
Totally. The one I would have been happy with, and it would have been a little plain Jane, is a W126 Mercedes 500 SEL. Which
I think that's great.
Which I would actually today drive as a daily if I could haul the kids around. I've thought about it before.
Yeah.
But like so many other things, there's no 560 yet. You don't have the good motor yet. I mean, the 500 is okay, but the 560 is what you want, which comes in later.
Going along with my weird picks, my backup, which nobody else is going to pick for any of these other categories, was going to be a Vanagon. But and the reason for that again is that I grew up with a Vanagon and lots of fond memories, huge, massive amounts of space inside for 2 kids or 3 kids or whatever. But the Vanagons in 1984 are not that great.
I know, because I almost picked Vanagon.
Did you?
And I said 84 is not the best year for the Vanagon.
Yeah, we had a 91 GL, I think.
Ooh, 91 is what you want.
They're much, much better. Yeah.
91 Synchro could make an appearance on a future list.
It could.
Absolutely.
You guys can have it. You'll never catch me dead picking a Vanagon. I fixed too many crappy Vanagons at the shop that I worked at with them spitting coolant and oil and never again. We had one though. My parents bought one new in Europe in 85. We took European delivery of a white over brown corduroy Vanagon. We had it for a long time.
Yep. My dad still has his that he's currently working on in his driveway with a cracked head, and it's been sitting for 10 years or something like that.
Vanagon life.
Hashtag Vanagon life. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. That's why I hate it, because like the owners back when I worked on them, they were like worthless. Basically, now they're worth a bunch of dough, but people would not part with them. They would spend anything to keep them going because they loved them so much.
Yep, absolutely.
Those people. No, I like your dad. I'm not going to disparage those people. Your dad had great taste in BMWs. All right, truck 4x4, Patrick. Do it.
Yeah, I know nothing about trucks and 4x4s whatsoever.
Not a fantastic era for these either.
No, so I went purely based on looks, and the truck that I think kind of looks the best, or that I prefer the best, is a 1984 Toyota 4Runner.
Oh, okay. I was getting scared there for a minute.
There's one that we listed on BAT. It's brown, has some graphics on the side, has I think a white top to the back, and it looks pretty great.
Is that what's the motor, indestructible motor in those? Is that 20? I saw what is it?
Again, I know
22.
Absolutely no idea. No, nothing about these trucks at all.
22R. Yeah. Little 4-cylinder goes forever. 5-speed, I presume you want.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
I mean, it's fine.
It would actually be fun to drive.
Yeah, it could be.
Like mini trucks, they're super fun to drive.
Yeah.
It's good.
Let's go with that. Sure.
Okay, great. You sound super confident.
I'm not confident.
Is it also going to be in a shade of silver or gray?
No, it's brown. Brown. There's one on BAT, lot number 112371, that I think is brown over brown.
I was going to say it's going to be brown. There's no way around that.
Dark red over brown.
Okay.
With the little white top to the back, I think it looks pretty good.
Your second red interior.
Removable top on those.
Removable top.
So strong. I think 4Runner's actually the best choice.
I actually think it's an extremely good choice. I wish Patrick had vamped it up a little bit more because it's a really strong choice.
Well, I was going to pick 84 Toyota pickup, but it sounds like it's clearly on your list, Alex.
No, it's not.
Oh,
so
really? Okay, great. Well, actually what I want is an 85 Toyota pickup, which I would shamelessly put
Marty McFly.
Wanted black. Yeah, I want the KC lights because I think that truck is just so sweet.
But you're going to go Toyota pickup?
84, 85 is the last years of solid axles front and rear, which absolutely doesn't matter. It's probably worse for me because I would never take that truck on dirt realistically anyway.
Same.
But it's a cool thing to say to people that makes it sound like you're in the know. And yeah, I think that's the best looking Toyota truck body style for maybe 15, 20 years.
And I assume you want extended cab 4x4 5-speed?
Yes, please.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's really good. I am now tempted to round. Are we all going to pick Toyotas? I kind of want an FJ60. So should we? Is that terrible that we all pick Toyotas?
There were 3 cars on my list: 4Runner, Toyota pickup, and FJ60.
I do have a couple other ones. I tend to skew American.
Sorry, guys. My backup, FJ45 Troopy.
Oh, that's a really strong one.
Another Toyota we can introduce into the mix.
You know what? F it. The FJ60 was my first choice. I thought for sure you guys would take it. I thought one of you would take FJ60 or Wagoneer for sure. So I'm surprised you didn't.
FJ60 is great, but I actually like 62 headlights better.
I kind of do too, but I like the 60 a lot as well. Okay. I'm ready.
I'm trying to not be disappointed later in the decade when the better versions of my cars come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We also have to save a good later 80s year for Randy. That was one of the things he wanted to be here. He's bummed that he's not. And I'm like, ooh, we're doing 80s. And I said, well, we'll do 84. We won't do a good year. We'll save a good year for you. And he goes, 84 is trash. So,
ooh, nice.
Or something like that. So, which he's not wrong about. Actually, I think we have a pretty good list going, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go FJ60. Let's bring it around, Patrick. Wild card.
Wild card. Wow. Have I picked? No, I picked 3 Japanese cars, 1 German car. And I'd be remiss if I didn't pick an Italian car for this.
Yeah. Get on Zach's page.
Lancia 037.
Oh, huge. Good one. That was on my list.
I need a new wild card, guys.
Yep. Those are so
You
awesome.
Want full rally spec or you want because there's kind of a streetable version?
Streetable one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I'd want to be able to drive
the
it around.
homologation version.
Correct. Yeah. There's a group out of Paris named Asphalt Heritage Club that's run by a few different guys, and they do very aspirational drives and events and things like that. And a few years ago, they drove an 037 around the Tourado, I think, and took amazing photos of it, which I'll show you guys. It's just, I can't get that out of my head.
They're so amazing. Good looking. It's Scorpion based, isn't it? Or it has like a Scorpion roofline on it, which is also kind of a cool car.
Yep, exactly.
I did not have that on my long list. No Scorpion anywhere, but I do think they're cool. Even with a street car, would you still, they look so good with a light bar on the front. Would you consider that or no, not for a street car with all the extra rally lights?
I could take it either way.
Okay.
I'll probably go without and then.
But you want single color, not like livery all over it.
Single color.
Yeah.
Red maybe?
Red.
Yeah.
Very
absolutely.
Strong. I love this. They look like such sports cars.
They're crazy looking. There's the Blue Angels in the background.
Yeah, we're going to have to cut that out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or we can just let the audience know we're under attack right now.
Totally. Oh, man, look at that. And they always have the lean. Man, that's strong.
Because if you saw that single colored, no lights, and you didn't know much about the car, there's no way you would think that was a former incredibly successful rally car, right?
Totally.
Right.
Totally. They're so strong. They were not a car that was really super on my radar 10 years ago, and now I'm like pretty obsessed with them. It was definitely on my short list for wild card.
Yep.
I wonder if we're all going to go in the same place. Did you all open up Group B rally results from 1984?
I didn't.
I just had that was second place. First place was something different.
Which I think I'm about to pick.
Okay. I was wondering.
Sorry. Yeah. While I will envy the looks of Patrick's 037,
you're actually going to win.
This is actually a way better driving experience. So it's probably better that I'm looking at his car and driving this. But yeah, I'll take the Sport Quattro.
Yep.
Yep, that's a very obvious great pick.
Do you want
second on my list?
Comp version or again the homologation? There's the street homologation version.
I want the street car. That's just how I use my cars, and I want to use that dumb, hilarious little trunk that doesn't look like it's correct with the roof line.
Yep. And then you guys can go rally race. That's 1-2 in
there you go.
Patrick race is dirty. Do you remember that K1 speed day we had?
Oh yeah.
He spun me out
immediately. He gets like a devilish grin on his face too as he gets more and more aggro.
Yeah. Pretty calm in daily life. You get me into a racing situation like K1 karting and that all goes away.
Did I see it was Stig Blomqvist is the driver of the Sport Quattro that won that year? Oh no, it's Walter Rohrl.
Whose 911 Speedster is still live as we're talking.
Live right now. Don't date us. Actually, Fleet Week already dated us. This might go live way later. So it's Fleet Week right now, but maybe not when you're listening. Okay, I am also going to pick a wild card that is a rally car, and my backup was another rally car. So I'll name that during the honorable mentions. But you may all have noticed I'm obsessed with Ferrari 308s, and I didn't pick one for any of my categories because in 84 you can get the 308 rally car, the Group 4 rally car. Yes. So we have not listed one of these, unfortunately, but there's like
17.
There are only 11 in 84.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Yes.
I need to send this link to Chris so we can post it with the podcast. Gold coffin spokes, rally lights. I mean, give it to me.
Amazing. I was really surprised that you didn't pick a 308.
Well, because I was saving it and I was really worried it was going to get taken somewhere. I can't tell you how happy I am to be the last pick and still be able to grab this thing. Yeah. While I'm here, I'll show you my backup, which would have been really strong too, which is a 205.
Yes, that was
Peugeot
on my honorable mention list.
Yeah. That's on my list as well.
Yep. That's also very, very strong. Couldn't have gotten
We don't even need to give an R5 turbo an honorable mention.
Well, it was on my short list for a couple of things. I think that would be tough as a daily.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was going to ask you guys,
if Randy, he seems to get along with it fine.
Is it a sports car? What is a R5 turbo?
I would count it as a sports car. Mid-engine, like the Vanagon.
Yeah.
The most sporting of vans.
Vanagon is rear engine, Zach.
Okay, Previa.
Yeah.
But I was really struggling with it almost has to be a wild card, an R5 turbo. Like it doesn't fit super neatly into any other category exactly. Like
you could daily it. It could maybe be a sports car, but it mostly fits into wild card, I think. Probably not a family hauler.
What other honorable mentions for you guys? Anything you're bummed you didn't get a chance to pick?
I actually thought this may have made an appearance on yours, but Buick Grand National.
Right there. Buick Grand. Actually, I had Regal T-Type. That was on my daily thing, which is kind of, cousin of that.
So you can talk down on all those rich guys with their Grand Nationals from your T-Type.
T-Type with T-tops. I had so many. Prelude, 944 didn't get picked anywhere. Yep. Scirocco didn't get picked anywhere.
Prelude at 944, though, 84, kind of sad.
I know.
It's not what you go for.
But it still could have been good as a daily.
I'm surprised, Zach, you didn't maybe consider or pick the Honda City Turbo 2 with the Motocompo.
The Motocompo. That would have been good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That was on my list.
I was strongly considering, I thought you might go here, Zach, for truck. K5 Blazer. Thought about it, didn't think about it.
84 again.
Yeah, I know.
I know. Strikes again.
I know. There are some pretty good ones.
My runner-up for commuter was the Alpina B6, which is the E30 Alpina. There's no M3 that year.
Yep.
So
that was my number 2. The number 1 that didn't come up, nobody picked GTI. I thought I was joking with Patrick before we recorded. I'm like, buddy, if you don't get first pick, you might not get GTI.
That's right. But, Mark 1 US GTIs are not my favorite thing in the world.
80 horsepower or something like that?
Well, mostly the look of them. This rectangular headlights. And when you put one of those next to a Euro car, there's just no comparison.
Or next to a Mark II.
Or next to a Mark II, which I had in college. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're cool. I would drive one and own one, but I felt like a CRX was, for me, a little more interesting.
I also think if you're shopping in 84 and you could afford it because it was more dough, it would be hard to get an 84 GTI in the US over a GTV6.
That's interesting. You could get either tuned by Callaway.
I know.
Do you think
I was going deep on some of the Callaway stuff.
Do you think people were cross-shopping GTIs and GTV6s?
I think maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
My parents bought it. It's the only new car they bought, maybe ever. They bought a GTI new in 83 before I was born.
Yeah.
People were excited about that coming here. Like, honestly, Zach, I'm not sure I knew about the GTV6 until like way later. You know what I mean? Like, you just didn't see him around very much.
I agree.
Howard's dad was slanging them for sure.
Yeah.
Nobody mentioned C4 Corvettes. I don't think that got listed anywhere. I was thinking about it. That's pretty tough. That's 4+3 Doug Nash gearbox at that point.
Yep.
But they do have the cool turbine wheels, and they have two-tone action, which I like.
Yeah.
Other commuter I considered, Euro 500 SL R107 with the good bumpers, good Euro lights. I think that would actually be a pretty strong commuter in the 80s.
I was eyeballing one with like AMG body kit and like Pentas and everything.
The 5 spokes.
Yep. That would be a good one. I was thinking about 500 SEC as a daily driver, and maybe seeing if you guys would let me call it a family hauler. It does have a pretty big back seat, even though it's a coupe.
Right.
Okay,
that would be pretty strong.
Yep. There was a announcement post last month or 2 months ago about a car that I was maybe going to pick as my wild card, which is the Honda HPX concept car from 1984. Do you know what that is?
Do you have it up on your screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
This was the prototype concept before the NSX 2-liter V6.
Is it mid-engine?
Pininfarina. I believe so, yeah. But Honda just restored the concept car. I think this article is published back in July. So it's sweet looking. We'll have to provide a link in the podcast.
Yeah, we will for sure.
The interior is wild and awesome.
Oh man, that is awesome. Pretty cool. Look at it has a little proto NSX vibe to it.
Definitely does.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow.
So cool. Yeah. NSXR colors.
Yep.
Deep cut, Patrick.
Wow. Really good one. Man, you should have picked that car.
I should have picked it. I was afraid that literally nobody would know what I was talking about.
I've never seen or heard of that before till just now.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Any other honorable mentions, gents?
84. Any non-car honorable
They still made a 512 BB of some kind. They still making some pre-Testarossa.
Yep.
Countach.
Alex, did you? Oh, Countach, right. Alex, did you call out the 205 Turbo 16?
Peugeot?
Yeah.
Yes, that would have been my backup if I couldn't get the Group 4 308
we listed that one a couple years ago, I think.
Their rear, it's like turbo. Cool. It's like the R5 turbo. The engine's in the back, and that's the one where the whole bodywork raises up.
Yes,
right?
it does.
Yeah. It's a clamshell.
Yep. It's like a faux car.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's 037-esque. Not as awesome as an 037.
Yeah, not as awesome. Yep.
Great, guys. I'm going to read our lists back here. Patrick, you can weep at the terrible choices you've made. No, I'm kidding. You have a good list.
Did we make it through without a single George Orwell reference?
I did mention it up top, 1984, and it is it's a tough year. I don't want to use Asimov. It's not Brave New World year, but it is it's not great. It's not necessarily our strongest year, but I actually think the challenge is good, and actually a pretty good list of honorable mentions, I think.
Yeah.
We left some cool stuff off the table. Yep. All right. Patrick, for daily driver, Honda CRX. For sports car, FB RX-7. For family hauler, BMW 533i white red 5-speed, Patty's dad spec.
Yep.
For truck 4x4, Toyota 4Runner 5-speed. And for wildcard, Lancia 037.
Correct.
Homologation streetcar version.
How much regret do I have at this point?
Tell us.
Probably a reasonable amount, but I'm going to stick with it.
Scale 1 to 10, regret factor?
It'll
6?
sink in more when you see the Instagram square
correct.
With the FB RX-7 next to a 288 GTO.
Yeah.
Patrick is crazy. Regrets. Would not drink with Patrick. All right, Zach, who's probably going to win again. He wins every time. I don't know if you know that, Patrick.
No, Randy has been up in his game.
Well? You guys are doing a great job.
My very mid taste to cast the widest audience net.
Yes. This is not as cast as wide, I would say. This is narrow casting. All right, here we go for Zach. Daily driver, Alpha GTV 6. Sports car, 288 GTO, maybe the strongest pick of the whole thing.
Very basic.
Family hauler, Rolls-Royce Corniche. Would love people to litigate that one in the comments. My family hauler is even worse. Truck 4x4, Toyota pickup, 4x4 extended cab 5-speed. And wild card is so strong too. Audi Sport Quattro, the homologation version also. Me, daily driver, SVO Mustang. Sports car, 3.2 Carrera 911, M491, no wing. Family hauler, 400i Ferrari, automatique. Truck, 4x4 FJ60 Toyota. And wild card, which I'm so happy about, but it's not going to win me this competition, Ferrari 308 Group 4 rally car.
I'm most curious what people would vote to be the best truck pick out of those. That's such a...
They're going to like yours, I think.
I don't know. I think 4Runners get a lot of love, but FJ60 also. It's an icon.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any runner-up?
Interesting.
What were your... I had a Suburban C20 on my backup list and K5 Blazer. Those were the only other two that
280 GE cab.
That would have been very
But
good.
I'd rather have a power top than the clam you got to pull on and off. So
Yep. What were your backups there, Patrick?
My list was 4Runner, pickup, and FJ60.
Oh. Well, you would have got one. There's only 3 of us. Really good stuff, guys. That was really fun. Patrick, what'd you think?
Yeah, that was great. That was fun. I've sort of played along in some of your other podcasts when you've done this and in my own head and wrote a couple comments, but it was fun to do this with you guys.
You were like, thanks for bringing me to the worst year.
Can we have Patrick back for 99? And if you don't pick Camry Solara, then you'll never be invited back again.
You're only allowed back if that's like an automatic pick.
Yeah. Well, either you and I have to pick
Solara,
it.
Coupe for daily driver.
What's your sports car? It's a Camry Solara.
Yes. Solara Vert as daily, Solara Coupe as sports car.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, thanks.
Family Hauler is a Camry sedan.
Correct. All Toyota, all Camry.
All Camry.
Wild card,
all
Avalon.
the time.
Totally Avalon. All right, guys. Awesome. This was super fun. Any parting shots? Anything you want to say here at the end?
What's going to be the next year?
Yeah.
We might have to go super modern on one of these.
We should, actually. Randy will definitely. We got to do a good 80s one for Randy, but yeah, we should. 2020. You mean like 2021?
Or 2020? Yeah, one of those two, which I can't believe is 4 years ago.
I know.
Or should I not say that, just depending on how long this might air?
Totally. This might come out in 2027. Well, thanks so much for doing this, gentlemen. And thanks to everyone who listened. Always happy to hear feedback, questions, concerns, or hear your lists. You can send any of that to podcast at
Bring it on. Tell us why we're wrong. We're ready for it.
We're ready for the Instagram comments. My wife reads them and tells me how terrible I'm doing, which is really wonderful for the home life. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And thanks to our listeners. And we will catch you next time.